y'all. This is New Age of Truth here. I'm just got a couple things in my mind. I just wanted to kind of get off my chest real quick, and this is my perfect outlet to do so. I really didn't want to write it down on a blog because it was just more of a spur of the moment thing. I had just some things that I've just been kind of going over in my head. Anyway, New Age of Truth, follow the blog, email me, newageoftruth@gmail.com, watch my YouTube channel, this is going to be posted up there, follow the blog, I'm going to be coming on radio real soon, so I want to kind of get a couple things going on this year, but I really wanted to kind of dive into this topic, because this is something that's been kind of bothering me for like the last couple of years. It's been this more, I don't want to say uprising or anything, but this has been more prevalent voices within the black community, particularly in our celebrities, that have been more and more vocal about just, this whole talk of, all of us being one people and things like that, which, if you put it into perspective and you can say, yes, on a human level, we are all human, I think there's no real argument against that. The difference is the treatment of one people versus another, one people versus many other people. The African American experience is different than the European Caucasian experience here in America. There's no doubt about that. So when you have these celebrities who have been in Hollywood for, a number of years and been around different white people and, have gained the notoriety and the fame and the level of respect that their white counterparts have, they tend to lose perspective on what the black experience is, I think, is on an individual level in America, and what it is to be like living an everyday life. I think, when you have people like Raven Simone talking about, she just wants to be called an American. When you have Steve Harvey, who makes comments, about him not wanting to, talk about certain topics like slavery. And you have other people who comment on black men's hair and that being the difference from looking like professional. And, all these different, comments that are being made, for people that we were supposed to admire and respect, and a lot of people do, it's kind of more, for me, hurtful, because here we are, 2016, we should be able to be more vocal about our experiences and our connection to our homeland, which is Africa, and show the beauty and show that culture and that beauty and that, that side of it to the world. Instead of, I think we are more, more and more, I want to say, engulfed by this whole feeling of this, like, nirvana that is supposed to be created, that we are all one race. And, the conversation to me only goes to a certain point, because when you do bring up the history and you do bring up the past, suddenly the conversation stops. Nobody wants to go past a certain point. That being here nor there, I wanted to talk about one person in particular, Miss Whoopi Goldberg, which to me is an icon. She's a national treasure. I'm not going to say she's not. Particularly particularly to the black community. She is one of our most, she's the person that I was pretty much raised on as a black female in Hollywood to see. I've just to kind of give you a little background of those who don't know who Whoopi Goldberg is. She's had 13 Emmy Award nominations. She was nominated for Best Actress in The Color Purple. She won for Best Supporting Actress in her role in Ghost. She won a Grammy, a Tony, an Emmy Award, and an Oscar. Not too many people can say that they've done all of that. She was also the first African American to host the Academy Awards. She won an Academy Award, and she hosted in 94, 96, 99, and 2002. She was honored with the Hollywood Walk of Fame on her 46th birthday. She's produced television shows, she's done radio, she's co-hosted The View since 2007. So she's done all of these, great achievements on on platforms that we can only dream of. To that star status that people want to aspire to, not only aspiring, black women, but women in general. This is what, someone like you or somebody who's had some of your same emotions go through, some of your same challenges of going through, not only with the glass ceiling of, being black, but also being a woman. So she's, to me, one of the people that have reached on a level that very, very, very few have gone and have, elevated, not only what you should aspire to, but elevated your expectations. Okay, and that's what every generation should do. We should, keep climbing higher and higher. Now, with that, she's dated, had some interracial dating experiences, and there has been some controversy behind what she's been doing and what she's been saying and things of that nature. The first one that I really want to point out is back in '93, she dated a man named Ted Danson. They did a movie together called Made in America. Now, her role, she dated, she was interracially dating Ted Danson's character, and they actually started dating in real life. So the story goes. Now, there was a roast where, not in the movie, but in actual real life, there was a roast where Ted Danson actually dressed up in blackface. And they were roasting Whoopi Goldberg. Now, Whoopi Goldberg knew at the time what Ted Danson's intentions were doing, what he was going to do during his monologue. So he dresses up in blackface, uses the word nigger like dozens of times, they said, during that roast. Made people feel highly uncomfortable. There were African Americans there. There was like Halle Berry. I believe there's like Samuel L. Jackson. It was a room full of people, right? White, black, everything. They said he said the N-word dozens of times. He was in blackface. He was eating watermelon. He was just doing all types of black stereotypes that, and where does that come from? Here you are dating a black woman, and you're in blackface. Like, you can't, and now, that was bad enough. What made it worse is Goldberg's reply to everything. Instead of condemning his actions, she actually defended him. And she said, yeah, in her quote, one of she says is, let's get the words all out in the open. Meaning, say what you're going to say. Get it out there. And then she goes on to say, well, I don't care if you don't like it. I did. Okay, so that was the first thing. She was, defended Ted Danson, who did, to me, was inexcusable. He, he did get a lot of flack for it, as he should have, but I'm just, the fact that Whoopi really didn't come out right then and there, and basically say, hey, what are you doing? Like, dude, no. Like, don't ever do that. Matter of fact, don't talk to me. The fact that you defended him, to me, is like you were in cahoots with him. Almost like you wanted to bring up that racial hatred. So, okay. So we're gonna go to this year where there was some more incidents that happened. This year with the whole controversy about the Academy Awards and Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith boycotting the Academy Awards and Spike Lee, and she said, well, the Academy Awards can't be racist because I won one back in 1991. Which to me is like saying, well, it's like that always, that person that says, well, I can't be racist because I have a black friend. And it's like, come on, really? You have a black friend? Like, that timeless phrase that we always hear, well, there's no way I could, I can't hate women. My mother's a woman. It's like, you don't, it's like, how do you, it doesn't make sense. So she made one point, that, if you're gonna boycott something, boycott the movies that don't have your representation, which is true. If Hollywood keeps putting these movies out there that don't show us in a prominent light, that show us as the thug, that show us as the thief, that show us as the hood rat, you're not showing us in leadership positions, then they should be boycotted. But it doesn't excuse the fact that Academy Award, the whole setup of it, the ceremony, the way the movies are picked, who picks the movies, that in itself, was just, the setup is all wrong. But we also need more African Americans behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. We need more key roles in places of power throughout the entertainment industry. We need black executives and black CEOs and people that can write a check. People that can direct the film. People that are, executive producing and things like that. But, so she made a point there. However, I don't like the fact that she said, well, they can't be racist because I won an Academy Award. There's a disconnect there. It's like you don't see it. You've been so Hollywood for so long that you've missed the struggles of the everyday, African American that's trying to come up and their struggles. Well, you've made it, but other people haven't. And that's the same tool that that's the same tool that some racists will use and say, well, why can't you be like her? She made it. They always pick out one person in the crowd and say, well, it's not our fault that you're falling behind or you haven't made it or you haven't succeeded at anything. It's your fault because she made it. Because when, they always pick out one person out of the crowd and say that. Now, that was something right there. Now, Now, she also denounced being an African American. And she said, I just want to be called American. My great granddad was here, and, they shed blood here, and they were just a part of this country as anyone else. Okay. I understand what you're saying with that. There has not been a war we have not fought in. There has not been one aspect of American life we have not been a part of, whether we were forced into it or not. We built major buildings in the U.S. Our ancestors' bodies are literally buried underground in Wall Street and other prominent areas in this country. So we are literally a part of America. Having said that, if you were to take any other racial group in this country and tell them, well, you're an American, and you're just an American, it's just an American, they would say, well, I'm an American, but I'm also such and such American. I'm Italian American. I'm Jewish American. I'm Asian American. I'm Latino American. Because there's pride there. There's pride in that heritage, pride in that culture, pride in that ancestry that you've come from, pride in the roots that you've had, that you were able to, plant your seeds into this country. And what I don't like the fact that when Whoopi Goldberg said that she's not an African American, it's like you're taking one part of yourself and dismissing the other part. And you can't do that. You can't separate the two. Because we were born here, we were born as Americans, but our ancestry goes further back than this country. It does go back to Africa. Now, we may not know what exact part of Africa, but we know it goes back to that continent. It goes back to that continent. And it's our duty, it's our responsibility to make sure that we tell our children that part of history. Now, it should also be our responsibility to tell them the beauty of Africa. Another time for another, whatever, presentation. So you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? You can't say, well, I'm not African, I'm just American. Because there's too much pride, and too much beauty, and too much culture, and too much enrichment in your life that if you actually learn about where you've come from, and you take any other racial group, like I said, if you take, Asian Americans, they bring their culture with them when they come over to this country, and they pass it on to their children, and they speak about it, and they tell them all the beauty that they've had in their motherland, so that when somebody goes and says something negative about that culture, negative about that country, or what have you, they say, no, you don't know, you don't know what you're talking about, because this, we can name you aspects of our culture and our history that is beautiful. Alright, so the last point is Mr. Jesse Williams from Grey's Anatomy. Some of you might know who that is. He made, I think, one of the most epic speeches of our generation on the BET Awards this past weekend. What made this speech so special is that he hit on pretty much multiple areas of multiple areas of, I don't want to say interest, but he hit on certain notes of difficulties that the black Americans in this country are having issues with. He touched on police brutality. He touched on cultural appropriation. He touched on the treatment of black women. He touched on the fact that if you've become a celebrity, that doesn't make it that you've made it, and that there still is a struggle going on. He's touched on the fact that we haven't reached the level of equality as we should have. So he touched on, his speech had so many layers to it, and he touched on a lot of key points that it was just a phenomenal speech. And just for him to be just so free and just no apology at all about it. And he's been that way. If you follow him on Twitter, he's been that way. If you've seen him on interviews on like CNN or MSNBC or if any other TV shows where he's talking about activism and race, he's been very vocal. So he has a proven track record to me that he's been out there speaking about, issues that are affecting our community. So I have no, to me the speech was phenomenal. Whoopi Goldberg, I want to say this week, I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday or whatever, had some comments to say about, the speech. And she decided to zero in on the cultural appropriation part. All right. And one of her main points is that she's basically saying, well, we all culturally appropriate. So what's the big deal? The gist of what she was trying to say, that musicians cultural appropriate from each other, and that we cultural appropriate from each other in society. And she made one of her examples is the hair weave. That white women wear hair weaves, so that's cultural appropriating from us, and black women cultural appropriate. Okay, so a couple things that I'm just gonna make a point of, and then we're done with this whole thing. Okay, Whoopi. I agree with you to some extent. Okay, as a musician and music artist, you are inspired by different cultures and different rhythmic patterns and different artists as well. You can be, it's not uncommon for somebody to be inspired by, if you're a rapper, your inspiration might be a Santana song. Or if you're into Latin music, if your inspiration doesn't come from classical music. Or if you're, R&B, you can go back into, folk or pop or even country, and you can draw inspiration from different, different trees of music. However, if you truly know your history in this country and the growth of music and the different elements of music, pretty much every label of music, every genre of music that has ever been, has either been inspired or created by African people. And I'm speaking about classical music. I'm speaking about country music. I'm speaking about rock and roll. I'm speaking about R&B. I'm speaking about rap. I'm speaking about pop. I'm speaking about jazz. I'm speaking about, I'm trying to think of another genre. But regardless of the genre of music, we've either influenced it, created it, or perfected it. And that's just me being honest. Okay? If you go back into the early 50s, we were doing rock and roll way before. what's going on. And then you had Elvis, who noticed our sound, and that was probably one of the most controversial cultural appropriations of that time, because here you have a white man who saw and performed black music and then blew up over it. Now, I don't know if Elvis ever acknowledged or even, publicly spoke about, where his musical background came from, because it's noted that he spent a lot of time in black churches and gathering that sound to come up with his sound. And then there's other artists. I mean, even today, a lot of people say Eminem. They'll say Iggy Azalea. They'll say Macklemore. Which, for the most part, I know that, or I've read that Eminem, he makes no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's like, yes, I'm a white rapper doing black music. And if I had not been white, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So he's acknowledged that. Macklemore has also acknowledged that. Iggy, I don't know. I think she's trying to say that, I don't know. I really don't really care what Iggy has to say. My point is with that is that, yes, there's a lot of give and take of different genres of music and what have you. And that's just one segment of cultural appropriation. The problem I have with cultural appropriation is that if you're not giving your praises due to the original source of where you appropriated from, and claiming it as your own, and saying, well, I've originated this style, and when you know you have not, because you've taken it from someone else or somewhere else and made it into your own, and now you said that you've created something. You did basically what I would say is a copy and paste. You copied it, and then you pasted it onto something else, and it just so happened to work for you. So I have a big problem with that. Now, that's really all I gotta say about that issue. So Whoopi, I know I kind of harped on you about, a couple of different things, and I know this blog is like really, really long, but I just had to get it all out. You're still an icon to me. The Color Purple was probably one of the most amazing films that I've probably seen in my young life. Sister Act was hilarious. Sister Act 2 was hilarious. Your role in Ghost, funny. Whenever I see you on camera, outside of The View, I'm not really too keen on The View. Just me. Whenever I see you on camera, I know I'm seeing an established actress. I know I'm seeing somebody who has enhanced and raised the bar for African American women to aspire to, and that's and not just women, but our people as a whole. I just wish that on the platform that you have, and on the level that you have, and the power that you have, you chose to use it to educate those who don't have what you have, who can't say what you can say on that level. I wish you just took what you have and notice that there are people still struggling and people still hurting. And not only speak to your mainstream audience, your mainly white audience, or your, whoever in the crowd at the time when you're speaking, but also say, hey, give us the blueprint. Don't give us a handout. Give us the blueprint. Say, this is what I did. And then help us try to climb up to where you are. And we don't want to all be actresses and what have you, but we all want to kind of move out of where we are to move on to something else. Whoopi, you know, I salute you. I didn't really want to bash you. Other people were, probably called you names, all types of coon, and all that other stuff that, me, I have too much respect for you for that. At the same time, I just wish that the Whoopi that I imagine, or the Whoopi that I've seen on film and gave a lot of credibility to, was that person in other in other different platforms, I'll just say. So I've been speaking my ear off now, but I thank you, and follow me on New Age of Truth on my blog. Email me newageoftruth at Gmail. If you see this video, I know it's very long. Comment if you want, if you agree, if you don't agree, whatever it is. Alright? I love y'all. 1.